Can I stay in the United States while my I-130 is pending? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. So the way that someone sponsors a foreign person for a green card or an immigrant visa is by filing an I-130 petition. The I-130 petition is a document that's filed by a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and they say, I want to keep my person on this application in the United States, or I want to bring them to the United States. We have a family relationship that is recognized by law, and I want to sponsor them for an immigrant visa. Even if they're here in the United States, ultimately they're getting an immigrant visa, which turns into a green card. And you do that by filing an I-130. So here's the thing. Congress has defined the different kinds of relationships that there are. And they've defined what a parent is, they've defined what a spouse is, they've defined what a child is, they've defined what a child over 21 is, and they've defined what a brother and sister are. And so in the statutes and in the regulations, USCIS processes those cases based on the relationship. Some relationships are special. Some relationships have a greater status. They have the ability to be what's called immediate relatives. And the great thing about being an immediate relative is there's no cap or limit on the number of green cards that USCIS can give out or the number of immigrant visas that the State Department can give out. So no matter how many applications are filed, people in the immediate relative category have to simply wait for the process to run its course. And once their case is approved, they get their visa or they get their green card. There is no limit on the number of those. And because there's no limit, that means there's not a backlog. Now, there's a general backlog just because the agencies are super slow, but there's not a statutory backlog. There's not a limit on the number of visas or green cards that can be issued each year. So the immediate relatives are the children under age 21 of U.S. citizens, the spouses of U.S. citizens, and the parents of U.S. citizens. So those are in the unlimited category, right? Everyone else is in what's called a preference category, So there you have the spouses of green card holders, the children of green card holders, whether they're over 21 or under 21, or married or unmarried. Only unmarried ones would get it through a green card. Then you have the unmarried children of U.S. citizens who are over 21, the married children of U.S. citizens who are over 21, and the brothers and sisters of U.S. citizens. And those are all the preference categories. And so for those people, you have to file the I-130 petition. And when you file it, you get given what's called a priority date. And that's a really, really important date. That is your place in line. So if your priority date is July 6th, 2024, then the people in line ahead of you are everyone who filed before that date, and the people who are in line literally behind you are the ones who filed after that date. And that date's really important because you won't be able to get an immigrant visa and you won't be able to get a green card until that priority date is current. In other words, every month, the agencies, USCIS and the State Department, issue a few more visas and a few more green cards, and the line moves forward. And Congress has limited how many of those visas are available in each of those categories. And so that means that the State Department and USCIS have to hold back and can't process every single case in those categories, in those preference categories. And so what that means is you have to wait for your priority date to become current. And you can't stay in the United States just because your dad filed or your brother filed an I-130 petition for you. You have to wait outside the United States. You have to wait until there's a priority date that becomes current. Now, if you're inside the United States, and do you have the right to stay in the United States, depends on whether you have an independent way to stay here. So the spouses, children, and parents of U.S. citizens, they can stay the whole time the case is pending, and it doesn't really matter what their status is. Their visas could expire. As long as they entered with inspection, they're going to be able to adjust on schedule, right? But for everybody else, if you want to adjust your status, if you're in a preference category, you don't have that special treatment that immediate relatives have. You have to wait for your priority date to become current, and that's when you can adjust. So an I-130 petition filed by a U.S. citizen for their adult children can take anywhere from 10 to 12 to 14 years. So you can't just file the I-130 and hang out here until it becomes current. You could do that if, say, you were on a valid student visa and you maintained your status all the way through, but that's very rare. We only see about 1 or 2 of those cases a year. Typically, the person's waiting outside the United States because the simple act of filing an I-130 doesn't give you the right to stay in the United States while your case is pending unless you're in that immediate relative category. Does that make sense? I hope it does. If you're thinking about filing an I-130 petition for a loved one, or if you want to hire us to help you with that, give us a call at 314-961-8200. You can also email us info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. If instead of wanting to hire us, you're just looking for free resources, we've got a ton of them. We have our Immigrant Home Facebook group. We've got 13,000 people in there that talk about the immigration process every day. We have our YouTube channel where we've had millions of views, and we have thousands of videos talking about all kinds of immigration issues like this one. We also have our Immigration Answers live show. That's a show I do 3 or 4 times a week. You're welcome to come on there and ask me whatever immigration question you want. That's on YouTube and in our Facebook group, that Immigrant Home Facebook group. And finally, you can find us on TikTok at Immigration Hacking. There's a bunch of fake people acting like me. The real one is at Immigration Hacking, all one word. IMMIGRATIONHACKING. That's the real one. Don't believe all the fakes. So check us out on TikTok, and we'll see you next time.